Right, so we're on to the next set of notes, which is 7.5, and really what we're doing here is we're putting it all together. So we're highlighting this concept of a horizontal shift. So in notes 7.4, we dealt with the period, and the period tells us how far we repeat. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this horizontal shift left and right. So we know our standard form. We've written this a million times. A sine of B, and then I have x plus or minus c plus or minus d. And remember this, I'm writing sine, but this can be any of your functions. Cosine, tan, any of them. Okay, so just a little review. We know that the A value is our amplitude. And this tells us our vertical stretch or shrink. Oh, shrink. And what's important on this one is that the zeros don't change. So super important. Okay, so we just talked about B, and we know that B is our period. And our period formula is 2 pi over B. And this is going to be our horizontal stretch or shrink. So what's the difference? The difference is our amplitude tells us how far up and down we're going to go, and our period tells us how far we're going to stretch or shrink. Okay? Our C value is what we're doing today, and this is our horizontal shift. And remember, our horizontal shift is what goes left to right. In trig, we have a special name for this, and we call this a phase shift. Okay, and then one other thing, this is just like with all of our algebra functions, this is going to be opposite of what we think. And let me put this in perspective here. So if I had an equation, I had some quadratic, and I said x minus 2 squared, we would say that this goes to the right by 2. So with our horizontal shift, with our trig function, it's the same thing. The C value is inside the parentheses, so it's going to be opposite of what we think. And then our D value, this is our vertical shift. And this is when we go up or down. Okay, so as we do this, I'm going to identify all of my 4 terms as we talk through these. Okay, so my A here is my amplitude, and my A on this guy, there's nothing there, so it's implied 1. My B is my period. Now, there's no B on this, and so my period is going to be 2 pi over 1, which we don't write it that way, of course. We would just say that my period is 2 pi. My C is my phase shift, and that is this value. This value here is my C. And remember, this is opposite of what we think. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go to the right by pi over 2. And then my D value, I don't have anything that's out here, so I have no vertical shift. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and label my axis, and I'm going to keep the same values. So I have pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and if I go this direction, I have negative pi. Okay, so what this is telling me, I grab my pencil because I'm going to have my starting and my stopping points. So what this is telling me is that I'm going to go right by pi over 2. Well, if each one of these is pi over 2, if this is pi, then that means this is my new starting point. So here is where I'm going to start. Here's my axis, and I'm not going up or down, so I know I'm going to be right on this x-axis. I don't have, if you remember, we said D gives you a new vertical axis, and I don't, or sorry, a new horizontal axis. So this would be my new x value, but I don't have one, so I'm going to keep this as my x-axis. Okay, so if I'm going to the right by pi over 2, this is sine, so here is my starting point. Okay, my period is 2 pi. So I'm not going to this value of 2 pi because I moved over 1. So my ending point is going to be this line right here. So it's 2.5 pi, right? So if I already started over on half, if I go a full 2 pi, I would go half 1, 1.5, 2. So if you remember, we have our starting point, we have our ending point. With sine, I have a 0 in the middle. Okay, now I'm going to look at my amplitude, and my amplitude here is just 1. So I go up one here and down one here. Now, what we've been doing is we have only been graphing one period. So if we said, here's our start, here's our end, we only graph one period. That's what we did in 7.4. But what this is saying is that we have a domain of negative infinity to infinity. So this means that even though we've only been graphing what's in between these dashed lines, I could keep going. And so I'm going to go ahead and model that with this one. So if this graph right here is one period, then I get to start over again, right? So what I have here, this is 3 pi and this is 4 pi. So if I look at this, this is my end. So 1, 2, here's my new end, here's my middle, and I go up one and down one because my amplitude is 1. So what really happens in this graph is I'm going to have something that looks like this. And I could actually even keep going in the negative direction. I'm not going to, but what we have here, this is what's important, is this is one period from these two lines. This would be the second period. So this is 2 periods, and it goes to this point right here. So nowhere does it say we only do one period. So if you see that, just know that all a period tells you is where it starts over. Here's my one rotation, and then I start over and I have another rotation. Okay, let's go down here and do cosine. So again, I'm going to identify everything that I have. So my amplitude here is going to be 1, and my b value is my period, and my period here is going to be 2 pi. I know that because I don't have a b value. My c value is my phase shift, so opposite of what I think, so I'm going to go left by 3 pi over 2. And d is my vertical shift, so I have no vertical shift on this guy. All right, so let me go ahead and label my graph. This is pi, this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi. I know I'm going to the left, so I need to go this direction, so this is pi, and this is 2 pi. Oh, hold on, that's negative pi, negative 2 pi. Okay, so no vertical shift, so I have no new x-axis, but I am going to the left by 3 pi over 2, and this is the same as 1.5 pi. So I'm going to go over here, 1.5 pi makes this my starting, and I know my period is 2 pi. So I'm going to go over 1, this is 1 pi, this is 2 pi. So this is where I'm going to start over. Now, because I want to graph more than one period now, I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So if I know it's 2 pi, I have half 1, 1.5, 2. So here's my next period. Okay, so this is a cosine graph. So cosine doesn't start here. It doesn't start on my x-axis. My amplitude is 1, so I'm going to start up 1, and then I end at the same location. Halfway in the middle, I'm going to go down 1, and then halfway between that are my 2 zeros. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. This is my start, this is my finish. Halfway in the middle I go down 1, and then between those I have my 2 zeros. So what does this look like? It comes down, it goes up, down, and up. So there is my cosine graph with a phase shift of negative 3 pi over 2. That's my new starting point. Okay. All right, let's flip it over. So now we've got a little bit of everything going on. So my amplitude on this guy is going to be 3. It's positive. That's important. My b value is 2. So now my period becomes 2 pi over 2. So my period is only going to be pi now. This tells me I'm going to go right by 2 pi. And this tells me that I'm going to go up by 1. So here's my A, B, C, and D. So this is the first one that we've had all of these. Now let me go ahead and label my graph. So negative pi, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 4 pi. Okay? Now, this tells me that I'm going to go right by 2 pi. So this becomes my starting point. And now I also have a vertical shift. So this becomes my new x-axis. So this is my new origin. Okay, so this is cosine. So cosine says that from my origin, I'm going to go up 3 because I have an amplitude of 3. So let's think about this for a minute. So if this is what I have, this is my new origin right here. If it was just a normal graph, I would only go up 1. But now that I have an amplitude of 3, I'm going to start here and I'm going to go up 3. So 1, 2, 3. So that's my starting point. Oh, I didn't do my period. My period is only 1 pi. So that means this is going to be super narrow. So here's my starting point. Here's my ending point. Halfway in the middle, so that's right here, I'm going to go this time down 3 from my new x-axis. So remember, this is my new x-axis. So if I go down 3, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So it's right here. And my zeros are in the middle. So there are my 2 zeros. Now, I want to go ahead and do one more period on this. So if I do one more period, this is my start, this is my end, this is in the middle, and then I have 2 zeros right here. Okay, let me go ahead and connect the dots on that. So I'm going to come down, super narrow, come back up, come back down, come back up, and there's my ending right there. Now, again, I could even go, in fact, let's just do that. I could even go this direction. So if I have this as my ending point, then I know this is my starting point. If I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I have 2 middles. So I could keep going, and I could just bring my graph this direction, and I could keep going in the negative direction. It's just going to keep going on and on. All right? So be careful and see what it says. If it says, so what I have here is I graphed 3 periods. Okay, if it asks you to only graph 1, then what you care about is what's happening here with this vertical shift, or sorry, with this horizontal shift, with your phase shift. So this, where I have these 2 arrows, this is my 1 period with my phase shift, but you can see I could just keep going with my graph. I could keep going. And what's kind of ironic about this one is if I go 1 more period, here's my starting point, here's my ending point, my 2 points in between. So if I just go ahead and do 1 more period, well, look what happens. When I shift this by just 1 pi, I have the same shape here that I would have had if I didn't move it at all and I just had a period of 1. It's because I moved it a full 2 pi that we've just repeated itself 2 other times in there. Okay? I think look at it a little bit. It makes a lot of sense how that repeats. Okay, one more. Another cosine graph. So now I have an amplitude of -2. So this one's going to flip. I see that right here. My period, I'm going to actually do the math on this one because it's a little funky. So my b value is 2 over 3. So what this becomes is when this guy flips, so I have 2 pi divided by 2 over 3 is the same as 2 pi times 3 over 2. So my whole period is going to be 3 pi. You don't have to do all that, but I think sometimes fractions jam people up. And so don't mess up here. Make sure you do the math. All right, so what's going to happen here with my phase shift is I'm going to go left by pi, opposite of what I think. And now I'm going to go down by 2. Okay, now let me go ahead and label my graph. Pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and I can actually do -2 pi here since I'm going to go left. Okay, so where do I start? I go left by pi. So I have this right here. And I'm going to go down by 2. So 1, 2. All right, so here's my new starting point. This is my new x-axis. Now, this tells me that with the cosine graph, I'm going to go down 2. So remember, normally with cosine, we go up 1, but this time I'm going to go down 2. So this is my new starting point. Okay, I'm going to go over to, oh, I didn't do my period. Sorry, my period here is 3 pi. So if it's 3 pi, this is 1 pi. So be careful, don't start counting here. So this is 1 pi, this is 2 pi, and this is 3 pi. So I'm going to end here on my 2 pi axis. So be careful when you're counting these periods. So if this is my starting point, this is my ending point. Okay, so I'm going to go halfway between these. So halfway between these, if I go 1 pi this way and 1 pi this way, this is halfway in between. And so back from my x-axis, I'm going to go to the other direction. So this is my point that I have. And then my zeros are halfway in between. So if I look at what's halfway in between, it's going to be right in here somewhere. And if I look at what's halfway in between these two, it's right in here somewhere. Okay, now my period is 3 pi. So if I look at this, this is 1. Oh, I can fit it. I'm going to barely fit it, but I'm going to fit it just so we can do another one. This is 4, and then this would be 5 pi right here. I'm just going to, hold on, I have a note card. I'm going to make one more line. I'm going to say right here. That's going to be my 5 pi line. Okay, so if I do one more, here's my start, here's my finish. So this is 1, 2, 3 pi. That's my period. So from halfway in between, I'm going to go to this point, and then I have my zeros here and here. So when I connect these dots, I'm going to have something that looks like that. Okay, let's go ahead and try this on your homework.